1x Developer Podcast.
I can't do this.
No, you
Quit.
got this. You got this.
Hey, welcome back. It is the 1x Developer Podcast. We have a very special episode today with myself, Satoshi Nakamoto. Colin.
I'm Brendan. Also
And
not Satoshi Nakamoto.
we are going to talk about a certain individual named Satoshi Nakamoto. And we're going to talk about who I think he is. Brendan, how much do you know about this, actually, before we get started?
Very little. What I know is that Satoshi Nakamoto, trying to make sure I say the name right, is the author listed on the white paper behind the original Bitcoin algorithm. Is that right? And
that's right, yeah.
There's a Bitcoin wallet that we can see on the blockchain that has some crazy amount of Bitcoin. And if anyone were to claim this wallet, they would get billions of dollars of Bitcoin or something, and it would also reveal their identity. And so far, through the entire history of Bitcoin, which is like a decade plus now, nobody has claimed this wallet. Is that right?
That's true, yeah. Also, it's worth noting that Satoshi did do a little more than that. He did interact with people through email and stuff. So we know that he's a real person, or at least there is a person who was kind of in control of this persona to some extent. And
okay.
has interacted directly with people. And then went dark at one point. So I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. But yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. Bitcoin was invented in 2008 when an unknown entity published a white paper under the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto. I'll put sources to all this stuff too in the show notes. Basically, this is almost all from Wikipedia, right? Let me put that out there too. This is the 1x Developer Podcast, right? We 1x these things, right? I did some research. I'm not an expert in any of this stuff. I just looked this up a little bit, and this is just kind of my list of who I think it is, based on the Googling that I did. Okay, this is not some groundbreaking research project or whatever.
Investigative journalism.
Yeah, no. This is just like a podcast. Nakamoto released
opinion,
Bitcoin.
Man.
Yeah. Nakamoto released Bitcoin as open source software on the 3rd of January 2009, which happens to be my birthday. Not 2009, but January 3rd.
Yeah.
I'm a little older than that. The Bitcoin network was created when Nakamoto mined the starting block of the chain known as the Genesis block. Embedded in the block was the text, "The Times 03 Jan 2009 Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks," which is a link to a Times article, which that's kind of our first clue, I think. Well, we have some clues, I guess, right? We can assume that this person knows a thing or two about cryptography, right? They know a few things about computer science, right? They're probably very knowledgeable on these subjects.
Okay.
And we know that they were active in 2008. But this was kind of our first clue, right? Because this is a Times article, and maybe I should share. But no, this is fine.
Is this the New York Times?
I think it's. Wait. That
makes me think it's a UK thing. They said Chancellor.
Yeah, exactly. That's the key point why I mention it, is because they say Chancellor, and it's about a UK British government thing. It's about the 2009 United Kingdom Bank Rescue Package, which is what I have linked here. But I want to link to. Let me just search this whole thing. I'm already screwing this up.
And the purpose of embedding something like that, stop me if you're going to go into this in a minute, but I've seen this before in these canary things where someone will, it's basically a reference to an outside source so that we know if the message has been modified somehow.
Sorry, I missed that because I was reading. It's The Times, which I guess is like a UK outlet.
Okay.
Timesonline.co.uk. Whoops.
I think
Yeah,
I'm
it's The
already too
Times,
dumb.
which is a British daily newspaper. Okay, yeah. No, that's a good question because there's everything Times, but yeah. So the main reason why I bring it up is because I think it really tells us two things. First of all, it does imply that this is like a UK person, or at least someone who is familiar with UK government to some extent, and it also implies somewhat of like a political aspect, right? Bitcoin has always had a political element to it, right? Like the idea of this currency that's like not controlled by governments. There's this kind of libertarian edge to it,
Mhm.
so those are two clues. Sorry, what did you say that I missed when I was reading?
There's I've seen this before where people will embed like a link to a specific like article from an article from a specific day to a newspaper, and it's used in like those, I forget what they call them, but the canary. Do you know what I'm talking about? Where they use it somehow to like, if this message has been modified,
Oh,
then we know that there's a signal that there was like a, you know, I'm getting all messed up here, but like
I think I get what you mean. Yeah,
what's the purpose of embedding a link to a Times article in this
yeah.
Genesis block?
So I took it to mean, and this is just I didn't even really think about it that much, but like just assuming because it's an article about bank bailouts. So I think it's more of a political message, is what it
Oh,
was,
okay.
in my opinion. Right? And also this is the Genesis block. So this is, in a way, I feel like this is a statement about like, okay, this is what this project is about. Right? It's like banks are being bailed out. Because think again, okay, this is 2008, 2009, right? So people are talking about like financial crisis, this kind of stuff, and he's saying, hey, here's a new currency that's not controlled by any governments. That's what I think he's doing. But that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. Like maybe he is trying to say like, hey, this is an article from the day that I'm starting the project. Maybe that has some significance or something.
I think yours makes more sense though. I think, yeah, it's a statement about like, this is something that's on everybody's minds. We're kind of feeling like the system has failed us in some way, so we're starting an alternative.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense
Okay.
to me.
So what you were saying earlier, the wallets that are linked to Satoshi hold collectively approximately 1.1 million Bitcoin. So I did the math the other day. This is like something billion. It's in the billions, and it would make whoever Satoshi is, as of right now, the 11th richest person in the world.
Hmm.
Right. So we're not just talking about a lot of money. We're talking about like so much money that it's like insane. Right. Like an amount of money to like you could like go buy a country. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
we're talking about this type of money. Except we kind of aren't. And this is kind of a side note. Like this is all money in Bitcoin, right? So like I don't know how you sell off billions of dollars of Bitcoin, right? I don't know if that's even like possible to do like easily. You know what I mean? Like
So
if you wanted to turn that, if you wanted to like turn that into like cash that you could use.
I've never, I don't mess around with any crypto stuff. Like you can't just go to Coinbase and be like, I'd like to trade in these millions of Bitcoin.
I mean, you can, but I don't know if like I don't know if that works when you're dealing with billions. Like I don't think Coinbase has billions of dollars.
Right. Okay. You have to find
I
someone
mean,
who's willing to buy that that many Bitcoin all at once.
yeah, and then I don't know how like okay, so like people talk about this sometimes when they talk about richest people in the world, right? Uh, they say Jeff Bezos is the richest man in the world, but what they mean is like all his stock plus all his money plus all his assets makes him the richest man in the world. But and I mean, maybe like maybe we should have invited like a financial expert or something. But I don't think I know there's like rules about like with the SEC about like selling that much stock, right? Because like Jeff Bezos has enough stock in Amazon that if he sold it all, it would like it could spark a massive sell off, right? Like
Right.
they see him sell and it's like, oh, everyone needs to sell. And so that's why I say it's not really hundreds of billions of dollars or whatever, right? Because he owns so much Bitcoin that he would like destroy Bitcoin by selling it all.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
value of it would be hurt by his own sell off. So, and I bring that up as kind of a side note of like, so we're trying to get away from like government control and stuff, but really in this system we have control of one anonymous guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he could decide, well, I want Bitcoin to be worth nothing now, so I'm going to sell all my Bitcoin for nothing and tank the market, right? So it's a little interesting to think about there.
Yeah, that really is interesting. I and that kind of raises the point. Like, has he kept it in there specifically for that reason? Like, in order for Bitcoin to retain some legitimacy and some value, like maybe this millions of Bitcoin he feels like has to remain intact.
Yeah, and we don't know. I mean, we don't know why he hasn't touched it. And also, right? They said it's multiple wallets. You would think, like, this is more clues as to who this person could be. Like, you would think that you would, cash out a couple million here and there, right? Like,
Right.
That's what I would do, right? At this point where it's like, okay, this is a pretty established thing that regular people, like my parents, have heard of this thing. Like, let's cash out here and there, but he hasn't done that. He's been completely dark since I think it was 2010. Let me just keep going through my notes here. Okay, in 2010, Nakamoto handed over control of the repository containing the Bitcoin source code to Gavin, and I don't know if it's Anderson or Andresen. I put his name here. Is that Andresen? Andreson?
Andreessen, maybe?
I don't really know how to say that. Anyway, so Gavin is now in control of the project. Then here it is, April 23rd, 2011, Satoshi Nakamoto sent his last email. He said, "I've moved on to other things. It's in good hands with Gavin and everyone." And then we've never heard from. Yeah, we've never heard anything from Satoshi officially since then. I have a note here. There are known correspondents of Satoshi, as in like there are people that have interacted directly with Satoshi, like people like Gavin. These are just random notes I'm going through. Satoshi has never written his name in Japanese, as in like the Japanese characters, right? He's always used English, like the what they call it, the romanticized version of the Japanese name, right? Using English letters, he's always written his name that way. So that's interesting. That's just a clue. This is a key point. Some of his language that we've seen, he sometimes uses like British isms with spelling and with his language, such as, here's some examples. He used the phrase "bloody hard." He used the term "flat" instead of like apartment or home. He said "maths" with an S instead of math, like an American would say. He also spells gray with an E, and he spells color with a U. So this we've already mentioned that he linked to a article about British politics, so that's another clue. Although also he will also use American spellings at times too. It's kind of an intermix of the two. So these could all be things that are just like like red herrings that he's intentionally laying out there to obfuscate who he is, right?
Yeah,
that make a lot of sense for him to do that. But we have to bring it up nonetheless. It is speculated that Kraken. Have you heard of Kraken?
It's another like crypto exchange, right?
Yeah, similar to Coinbase or whatever. It is speculated that Kraken may have know your customer information that would dox Satoshi, but they've never made a statement about it. So it's possible that people know. There are people out there who know who he is potentially.
Kraken is like are they one of the oldest crypto exchanges?
They're definitely one of the biggest names, and I don't know why Kraken specifically would, but they're definitely one of the bigger exchanges.
That's kind of weird. I didn't know that they have like personal info on all their customers. Is it on all their customers? I thought that was one of the big things with crypto was like we could do this.
That's a good question.
Divulging that info.
Yeah, I saw this on the Wikipedia page. I don't know why Kraken would know who Satoshi is. Let me look this up. We looked this up on the fly. Um, Coinbase executive Connor Grogan found a potential link between early Bitcoin wallets and a Canadian exchange now acquired by Kraken. Research suggests Satoshi owns this much Bitcoin and last showed on chain. Okay. I went through. This is from Connor Grogan. He said, "I went through Satoshi Nakamoto's wallet's thread of new findings that I don't think have been previously reported, including my best guess is that Satoshi was last active on chain in 2014. He may have used a Canadian Bitcoin exchange. Kraken may know the identity of Satoshi, so he may have used Kraken apparently. And I know, yes, I don't really know how this works, but I know that like financial institutions are required to do some level of know your customer. I think Coinbase is one where you have to like show your ID and everything to make trades on there, and this is required to prevent money laundering and all the stuff.
Right.
So yeah, you're right. Like one of the key selling points of Bitcoin is that it's something that you can use anonymously and that sort of thing. And a lot of the like, so there's kind of like multiple things here, right? Like there's people who like, there's like technologists and like cryptography people who like find Bitcoin interesting from a technology perspective. And then there's kind of like the libertarian angle that we mentioned a little bit. And then there's like all the newer people, which are like, hey, this is a thing that can make me rich, right? Mm-hmm. So a lot of the old school type people I've seen online, they're very like anti-Coinbase and anti-Kraken and that sort of thing because they feel like it kind of, like you said, kind of defeats the whole purpose of the whole thing. Like it's like, what do we, at this point, it's like we really are just like buying and selling digital assets as if they're stock to make money, which was not the concept, right? The idea was that this was a currency or a store of value that would be unregulated, that we didn't use, basically like gold.
But I think places like Coinbase saw pretty clearly that like if we don't start doing this, this is just going to be like a free for all for illegal activity and like maybe even won't survive because it doesn't have any legitimacy and things like that.
Well, I think they're required by the government to do the know your customer stuff that they do.
Okay.
Like or at least they're covering their ass for that sort of thing. Anyway, one other note I had here is that there is this HBO documentary called Money Electric that I haven't seen, which points to a specific individual as being possibly Satoshi Nakamoto. That's what that last article I was talking about mentioned. Or that's what spurred this wave of tweets from. Grab that before I forget it. So there's that, and then other than that, just a final note. There's one more. I just remembered. There's one more person I need to add to our list of suspects in here. Actually, I think I'm going to put him right at the top. Whoops. I'll put him off to the side. Someone else. Whoops. Yeah, so there's speculation that Satoshi Nakamoto might not be alive. There's speculation that he's just completely disappeared, right? The fact that he disappeared the way he did is like pretty weird, right?
Right.
Anyway, I think that's enough background. We spent 20 minutes just doing this. Now I'm going to get into the tier list. Are you ready for the tier list?
I'm so ready. I love this.
Again, also this is my personal tier list, right? So this is just my take on this stuff, like from the little bit of Googling I've done. As you guys can tell already, I'm like still learning. There's a lot of stuff I don't know. I think I want to start with someone else because, so like I said earlier, right? One of the clues is that we're kind of assuming that whoever this person is, it's somebody that it would be like known within the community, right? Someone who was like posting on bitcointalk.org or like was involved in cryptography before all this. It is possible that like that's not the case, right? It's totally possible that it's just some guy we've never heard of who's behind this, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it does seem pretty unlikely that like there's only so many people in 2008 who were like interested in cryptography and the blockchain and stuff like that, it seems likely that it's someone. It just doesn't seem like that community is that big. It seems like it would draw from that community probably, but we don't know that.
No, I agree 100%. Also, like, I mean, I was thinking about this last night, and I was kind of thinking, like, if someone, if there was like an article that came out tomorrow that like someone broke some record in like golf, or like, someone kicked some record field goal, I would assume it's like somebody in the NFL, right?
Right.
Or the golf. Like, I would assume it's somebody that we've heard of in the golf world that broke this record. It's possible that there's like some guy out there that we've never heard of who's just incredibly good, and for some reason never chose to pursue this as a career or made any of this public. But that seems a little weird, right?
Yes. Yeah, that would be pretty unlikely.
Also, why would you use a pseudonym? I guess you just want to stay anonymous, but it seems,
I agree. Yeah, you're an amateur who's into this stuff, and you've made like this what you think it might be a huge breakthrough, and you're just like, I don't really want the credit. I'm just gonna,
yeah,
just gonna donate this to
and
the
also,
community.
I mean, also think, at the launch of this, they didn't know that they were going to be billionaires. I say they also, let's also touch on that real quick. Entirely possible that there's multiple people behind this, right? A lot of people speculate that multiple people on this list are actually collectively Satoshi Nakamoto. I find that quite likely also, actually.
Yeah, I've heard that, and I've always suspected that has some weight to it potentially. Especially what you were saying about the different spellings, the English versus the American spellings and stuff like that.
Right.
Like, that kind of makes me wonder if different people were responding to these emails from the Nakamoto account.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's keep going. So one of the articles I was looking at mentioned Elon Musk as a potential suspect. I'm gonna go ahead and say it's definitely not him. Like, almost certainly. So the thing is, there's a former SpaceX employee that said that it's him. I don't know who said that or why. I could have gone down that rabbit hole a little bit, but basically, Elon Musk denies it himself. And I mean, there's just a lot of things wrong with this theory. I mean, first of all, for me, the big thing is, how would he have time to do this? Like, he was busy in 2008 already with PayPal and stuff, right? Like, and then acquiring Tesla and all these things. And I don't know how he would have time to do this. He also publicly owns Bitcoin himself, right? And talks about it. So that seems weird to me, that he would buy some under his, or like he would have some that he publicly talks about and then have some under this like secret name that he doesn't talk about. There's a lot of speculation I've seen online recently, and this gets into like weird, just like Elon hate. I don't know. A lot of people say that Elon Musk actually really sucks at programming. I don't know if that's true or not, but a lot of people have said this about, like, apparently at working on PayPal, he like really sucked and didn't actually do anything. I've just heard that. I don't know if that's true or not, but I don't think he has a proven track record of being like knowledgeable about cryptography in any way.
Yeah.
And I think also another big thing for me is, like, if it was him, he would say it. Don't you think?
Yes, I do.
Like, he would take credit for that. Why would he deny this, right? At some point by now, he would have said, "Oh, by the way, I am this genius that's super famous and a billionaire, and that's why I'm the best."
Right.
It just seems like he would do that.
Some kind of unhinged tweet storm at 3 a.m. over the last 20 years at some point.
And that hasn't happened. He's publicly said it's not him. So that's just all I have to say about that.
Just to play devil's advocate, but like a couple of points. He doesn't need the money, so it makes sense he wouldn't claim it. And being at PayPal, he was involved in like digital financial stuff.
Okay, that's true.
Just throwing that out there. I agree, probably almost certainly not him, but just to be explicit about it.
Yeah, it makes sense to me that people would think it's him for that. That's a good point. He has a record of interest in online transactions, and also, yeah, it would explain why he's not tempted to ever touch his billions of dollars.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Let's move on to Dorian Nakamoto. So there's something really interesting about Dorian Nakamoto, which is his last name is the same as Satoshi's.
yes.
And so he's American. He's a physicist and a systems engineer. His full name is Dorian Prentice Satoshi Nakamoto.
Oh.
So here's another thing for him. Apparently, his family and such have stated that he is libertarian-leaning, anti-government. He's voiced these things. He also is interested in cryptography. He was an early cryptography person. But it seems like the strongest link is just the fact that he has the same name as this person, right? So you can give your take on this. But to me, I mean, unless we're playing like 5D chess, I find it a little odd to make your fake name the same as your real name. Right? Like, I think it would be a little weird if Batman, instead of Batman, he was like Bruce Wayne Man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would be a little weird.
Counterpoint, what if in the beginning he wasn't trying to conceal his identity? What if in the beginning he hadn't made that decision yet, and he was just like signing his name, and then he kind of realized like, maybe it's not a good idea if I'm like the public face of this. I don't really want to be like out there in the public. And so he kind of like dialed it back.
That's true. That's interesting. Yeah, because I don't think he ever publicly stated that it was like a fake name. Maybe he did, but I'm not sure.
Is there any evidence?
That could be possible.
I mean, it seems like for that to be likely, he would need to go by Satoshi Nakamoto in other correspondence, right? If he was only signing his name that way in these emails, that seems a little weird.
Yeah, I think he's goes by Dorian generally.
Okay.
Let me see here. I don't know if I can find this off like right here, but yeah, I don't know if it was publicly stated that Satoshi Nakamoto was like not his real name. If that was a pseudonym off rip, but one thing to continue, the pseudonymous Nakamoto's P2P Foundation account posted its first message in 5 years. This was in 2014. I am not Dorian Nakamoto. So Satoshi Nakamoto has claimed specifically he is not Dorian Nakamoto. Which so that's another thing I kind of wanted to get into is like, so there are people who have claimed to not be him, and there are people who have claimed to be him. I have the feeling that if you claim you're not him, that actually makes it seem more likely that you might be him.
Yeah.
And if you claim to be him, then you're almost certainly not him. I'll get into that a little bit more later. But anyway, Satoshi Nakamoto has claimed to not be Dorian Nakamoto. Which
that is very interesting.
Is a little sus, right? Like, if Batman comes out and says, "Hey guys, by the way, I'm definitely not Bruce Wayne."
You guys
That's
gotta
a little
stop
weird.
looking at Bruce Wayne for all this stuff. It's definitely not that guy.
Yeah. So Nakamoto denied all connection to Bitcoin, saying he had never heard of it before, and he had misinterpreted Goodman's question as about his previous works for military contracts. Anyway, I don't think it's him. I think I'm going to go in unlikely, just because it seems like other than the name, there's not much there. That's really all it is for me.
Yeah. That's what it feels like to me too. It's mostly just the name. Other than that, it's kind of like we're reaching.
Well, one other thing I wanted to mention here is, and I didn't really get a chance to look this up, but I believe I know Satoshi is a somewhat common Japanese first name. I believe Nakamoto is also a fairly common name. Uh, I could be wrong there, but I feel like I've heard that before. Um, so I don't think it's totally outlandish that there's another guy who has that name.
I was going to ask about that. I thought I'd heard that too, that that's a fairly common name. It's kind of like a John Smith or something like that. Like
Yeah.
it's pretty
Nakamoto.
common.
If you look it up, there's been a lot of famous people named Nakamoto throughout history. And Satoshi is like, look, while we're talking about, yes, okay, Craig's next. While we're talking about names, let's get into Craig Stephen Wright. So this guy is like a whole rabbit hole. Yeah, like there's a lot here. I didn't really get into it all, but Craig Wright is interesting because he says he is Satoshi. And so there's this interesting bit about the name. Yeah, Wright has said that he chose the name Nakamoto in honor of Japanese philosopher Tominaga Nakamoto, whom Wright learned about from his Japanese martial arts instructor, and Satoshi from the Pokemon character Satoshi, because his name was angelized as ash, and thus Satoshi represents the current financial system that must be burned into ash to make way for cryptocurrency.
Oh, okay.
And that was interesting to me. So, because when I watched Pokemon, his name was Ash. That's like the main character, like with the baseball cap with Pikachu. His name is Ash. Apparently, in Japanese, his name is Satoshi. I didn't know that. But so that's what I mean. Like, Satoshi is a common name, right? Like,
yeah.
But anyway, this is kind of the whole story with Craig Stephen Wright. Is he has like really deep, complex explanations for everything, and he seems to be like just very elaborate and detailed with all these things. Let me see here. So over here. Let me talk about a little bit who he is. He's an Australian entrepreneur who convinced the BBC, among others. Wright was involved in a lengthy court battle that hinged on his being able to access crypto addresses allegedly belonging to Satoshi Nakamoto. In March 2024, a UK judge ruled that Wright is not the author of the Bitcoin white paper, nor is he the person who adopted or operated under the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto. Let me get a little bit into the court case real quick, because I was... Craig Wright started 5 lawsuits against leading crypto figures in 2019. I'm forgetting exactly what the lawsuits were about. I know that there's been multiple people who have said that Craig Wright is a sham, like he's a hoaxer lying about all this, and I think he might have filed things about them. Like Vitalik, the guy who created Ethereum, he said in an interview that like, yeah, Craig is not him. Again, there's a whole lot I can get into here. I don't want to get too deep with just this one guy, because he's the reason why I made this final column. He's the only one on this list that a court said, yeah, it's not him. Right? There's a whole investigation, and they said it's not him. So that to me is like, you're like a whole new level of not him, right?
I mean, it seems somewhat clear, right? Like if someone comes out and claims to be him, can't we just say like, okay, pull a Bitcoin out of the wallet? And he wasn't able to do that, I assume?
Yeah, send us some Bitcoin, show us your wallet, send us an email from one of the known emails of Satoshi, right? Anything. He didn't, and any of that would have proven to the court that he's him. And apparently he couldn't do any of that. So he's so not him.
Get out of here, Craig.
Oh, here it is. Okay, yeah. So he used English libel law to sue people who denied he was Bitcoin's inventor and called him a fraud. So he's a little crazy, if nothing else, right? Like, you're going to sue someone for saying the truth? That's kind of nuts.
Yeah. I don't know what the end goal is there. I don't know. I guess maybe you hope people settle and make some money.
There was one quote I wanted to say. There was a quote I saw somewhere where it was like someone had said that Craig Wright either is Satoshi Nakamoto or this is like the most this is the most invested in a hoax anyone's ever been. Oh, here it is. Why this is a Wired article said that he either invented Bitcoin or is a brilliant hoaxer who very badly wants us to believe that he did. And it seems like it must be the latter. So there we go.
Yeah.
Moving right along here. Len Sassaman. I've seen some people online think that it's him. He was so now we're getting into people who were pretty publicly active in cryptography and cypherpunk and these things. Len Sassaman, I'm going to say, is likely. Maybe or likely. Basically, he was a public person who was pretty invested in these things. And the main thing is that he died in 2011. So that explains the whole lack of activity from Satoshi, right?
Except for the 2014 transmission, right?
Oh, yeah. That was when I was reading about Dorian.
Yeah, the one that said, "I am not Dorian." Wasn't that 2014?
First message at 5 years later that day. This article was published. Yeah, that was 2014. But I thought we hadn't heard of Satoshi. I think I've got a mistake here.
That's intriguing, though. I mean, apart from that one fact, that's that could explain a lot.
Yeah, he said he was moving on in 2011, but then in that same... Okay, let me read this, because maybe I'm just not reading this right. In a high-profile March 2014 article in Newsweek, journalist whoever identified Dorian, whose birthday is Satoshi Nakamoto. Besides his name, Goodman pointed to a number of facts that circumstantially suggested he was the Bitcoin inventor, trained physicist. According to the daughter, the article, blah, 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 stuff about the article. And then it says the article's publication led to a flurry of media interest, including reporters camping out near Nakamoto's house and chasing him by car when he drove to an interview. Later that day, the pseudonymous Nakamoto's P2P Foundation account posted its first message in 5 years. I am not Dorian. So wait, I guess that what is the P2P Foundation account? What does that mean? Oh, okay. So this isn't him. This is the Satoshi Nakamoto Institute posted, "I am not Dorian," which is weird. Why would you post that? Because we know you're not.
What's this foundation? Are they in charge of Bitcoin in some way? Or
I believe they're at least part of the people that Satoshi left the ownership of things to.
Oh, okay. So when he said it's in whoever's hands and also
everybody else, yeah, I think that's what he was talking about, because everything else says Satoshi Nakamoto has been radio silent since 2011. So so that lines up, and I think that's the main reason why people really suspect Len Sassaman, because he died the year that Satoshi, and he died by self-harm.
Oh, okay.
That same time, so it would kind of line up as he gave it. He said, "I'm moving on to new things," and then ended his own life, and it lines up.
Yeah, not to be morose, but I think that's a really important thing. If he planned it in some way, or it was a long drawn out illness and he had time to kind of get his affairs in order and then pass the torch in a way, I think that's a very much more evidence in favor than if he had died in a car accident or something.
All right. So Satoshi made that post in April, and then Len Sassaman died in July the same year. So, that's pretty weird.
Very
so
interesting.
I think I'll put him in likely. Okay, so Gavin Anderson. This is one of the few people that we know of as a known correspondent of Satoshi, right? he interacted with Satoshi directly. He's the current manager of Bitcoin, and like a lot of these other people, very involved, obviously very involved in like the whole space and everything. I'm gonna say I actually find him unlikely. The thing is, I just find it odd to say to keep going with this Batman example. I find it a little odd for Batman to say like, "I'm gonna stop being Batman. I'm gonna give all my stuff to Bruce Wayne." You know what I mean? Like that seems a little weird to me. So that's kind of where I'm at there. There seems to be a difference between Gavin as like an entity and Satoshi as an entity. I don't know. I don't find it very likely.
Yeah, that does seem a little weird. Like,
Hey, my stuff shifted. There we go.
Yeah, to pass all my stuff on to the identity that I'm gonna hide under for the rest of my life. I don't know.
Are we on time? 40 minutes? Okay. Let's just keep going here. Okay, so Peter Todd is I didn't look into him much. He's basically the guy who's fingered by the HBO documentary. And I haven't seen it. Peter Todd's Canadian. He's a Bitcoin core developer. And to me, I guess I could put him in maybe. I didn't look him up much, but it just seems like there's some circumstantial evidence, not anymore from what we see from like Sassaman or any of these other guys. Maybe I'll watch the documentary and I'll change my tune. I don't have much to say about him.
Has he publicly said one way or the other? Like, if they made a whole documentary about him, surely he's come out and said yes or no, right?
I think he's actually in the documentary. He said it's not him.
Okay.
And he's a known Bitcoin developer. Let me see here. So the guy who made the documentary, his name is Cullen Hoback. Hoback's claim relies on a chat message written by Todd where he commented on a technicality in one of Satoshi's last posts shortly after Todd had created his personal account and just an hour after the initial post was made. I don't know. That doesn't seem like much to me. Hoback also notes Nakamoto's use of Canadian English, as well as subsequent chat posts by Todd, where he rued being the world's leading expert on how to sacrifice your bitcoins. I've done one such sacrifice, and I did it by hand.
I don't know.
Hoback characterized the latter. I think so. He said he's the world's leading expert in how to sacrifice your bitcoin. I've done. I think he's saying because Satoshi has all this untouched bitcoin. He's saying that that's what Todd was referring to when he said that.
Oh, sacrifice, like he is put it in the wallet and abandon it, basically.
I think that's what Hoback's trying to argue. In the film, Todd denied that he was Nakamoto, stating that it was ludicrous and grasping at straws, and criticized Hoback by saying that it was ironic that a director who is also known for a documentary on QAnon has resorted to QAnon-style coincidence-based conspiracy thinking here too. Which I honestly, like, reading that sounds like, hey, why are you so mad, bro? You know what I mean? Why are you so mad if you didn't? It's not you. You know?
I don't know. If somebody made a whole documentary about like how I was the guy behind something that everyone was wondering about, and then like I gotta be peppered with questions for the next 10 years by reporters. I don't know. I might be kind of pissed about that.
I agree, and it is. I think he puts it really well. He says it's coincidence-based conspiracy thinking, which is what most of these come down to, right? Like Nakamoto, Dorian Nakamoto, they have the same name. Len Sassaman died right after. You know, this is all just kind of circumstantial, coincidental things, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, we just don't know much about the guy, so this is kind of what we're left with.
Right. There really isn't much to go on. I mean, I think that's part of what makes it kind of fun and intriguing is that there's really just not a lot of information, and it leads to people kind of grasping at straws.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to do this. I think it's fun. Okay, these last three, Hal Finney, Adam Back, Nick Szabo, these are kind of like the big three. These are the guys that people say, like, if they're not him, they like know who it is. Basically, okay, so Hal, all three of these guys are American, I think. No, Adam Back is British. The other two are American. Hal Finney, a cryptographer and software developer, died in 2014. Did talk to Satoshi on BitcoinTalk.org back in the day. So I always find that a little weird. Like, why would you be talking to yourself? I guess maybe to throw people off, but I don't know. Adam Back, also big name in the community. He's another known correspondent that Satoshi did directly contact with. One interesting thing about him is he is known to have a large amount of Bitcoin. He publicly is very wealthy. He's like been known to travel, or he lives in Malta. Uses it as like a tax haven. He fits the profile pretty well. And he wasn't. Oh, another thing about Adam Back. This is just something I saw on a Reddit thread. Somebody was saying that Adam Back has never been active online at the same time that Satoshi was active online. Okay, so all these guys, all three of these guys, I'm going to say go into likely, at least. Or at least, I mean, they're as likely as anybody else. These are like the ones that people think it is. But Nick Szabo, I'd like to talk about. Nick Szabo specifically. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and say he's my pick. I'm not saying it's him. Right, I'm saying that I think out of all the stuff I've looked at, the evidence is the best for Nick Szabo. So again, he's American, he's not English, but I have a lot of notes here. He was heavily involved in early cryptocurrency projects, including BitGold, which people point as kind of like this precursor to Bitcoin. What else I supposed to say here? Okay, another weird thing. Satoshi, in his white paper, mentions other Bitcoin-like projects, like this thing called B-Money, but it does not mention BitGold specifically, which is interesting because BitGold is the one that's like most similar to what Bitcoin was and did. So that seems like an intentional omission, right? Like that seems like you're interviewing Batman and he's like, oh, all the rich people in Gotham City, like, this guy and that guy. What's that, Bruce Wayne? Who's that? Like that's what it seems like to me. Right. He has denied being Satoshi. All three of these guys, Hal Finney, Adam Back, and Nick Szabo, have denied being Satoshi. Like I said, I think that's what Satoshi would do.
Yeah.
Here's kind of the smoking gun. I wanted to save this until the end. One other thing. One thing someone pointed out is that they think it's more Adam Back because Adam Back is known to be skilled in C++, and Nick Szabo doesn't have that as a known skill. That's another thing that kind of leads me to maybe it being multiple people. Like that would make sense for like the English versus Americanization of spellings, right? Because Adam Back is English, Hal Finney and Nick Szabo are Americans. Mm-hmm. That would kind of make sense.
Let me ask you about that real quick. Like when we talk about he doesn't have like shown expertise in C++, is the actual code behind Bitcoin isn't necessarily like some kind of programming engineering feat, right? Like I thought the code, the genius of Bitcoin is the idea, right? It's not necessarily like the implementation isn't. I'm trying to think of a good example, but like it didn't. Did it take some kind of like extraordinary C++ skills to code it?
Yeah, I don't know really, and I don't think so. I mean, I'm not experienced in C++, but it's open source, so I guess we could just look at the code and see. I did see like a clip from what's his name? The Lex Fridman podcast, where a guy was saying, this guy was speculating like somebody should go look at the code and do like an analysis to see if this code is similar to other code that's been written in other projects or something. As far as I know, no one's done that. I think that's an interesting point, but I don't know if that's like, I mean, it's a common thing to like take code that isn't yours and then use it as kind of like a style guide, right? So right. Like, even if there was a match, I don't know if that's really, and again, I'm not a C++ guy, but like at least in a language like Python, where there's a quote unquote Pythonic way to do things, like if two people write the same Python code, it's like, okay, what, like, that's how it should be. But
Right.
I don't know.
I think the bit gold
think,
thing is really interesting too, though. Like, I think that's one thing that might lend itself to the idea that he was prepared to take on a pseudonym from the outset, though. Like, if he had tried this bit gold thing and it had kind of sort of like wasn't getting traction, and then they started this new project, and he had a pretty good inkling that, like, okay, this might be the one that could actually take off. Um, and I don't know, that might be a pretty good clue right from the start that, like, I don't want to be the public face associated with this. This is going to be financially, there's going to be a lot of like regulation fights and stuff around this. Like, I don't want to be that guy. I think that's interesting.
Absolutely, yeah. I think you're right, though. I don't think C++. I think the concept is what made it separated it. I don't know if like you had to be like a super programming genius, but you definitely had to be like an early cryptography guy, kind of before everyone got into it, which Nick Szabo was.
Yeah.
One other note I had here was that, and I don't know what this means, but apparently he's known to be interested in using pseudonyms in the 1990s. Isn't really that interesting, right? I mean, most people on the internet have had names that they've used, right?
Sure.
Anyway,
Yeah.
he's publicly denied being Nakamoto. But here's the thing. This is kind of the closest thing to any like actual evidence we have is that there's this article. Shoot, who wrote this thing? I kind of want to give him his props. I don't know who's behind this, but there was somebody who did a linguistic analysis of the white paper and his writing style, and said that there's like a super match with Nick Szabo's writing. Like, his writing style is incredibly similar to Satoshi. Satoshi and Nick Szabo's are incredibly similar. I'm not I'm not knowledgeable enough about like linguistics and stuff to like know if that's really holds any weight or anything. But that to me is just the closest thing to any actual evidence like that we have in any of these. I mean, that in conjunction with the thing that's like, why did you not mention BitGold, which was a pretty clear influence? Let me see here. Okay, here. So like, there's all these specific things. Okay, I'm just gonna read from the freaking article directly. Running similarity metrics on the white paper and Nick's BitGold articles, as well as his paper formalizing and securing relationships on public networks, indicated an excellent match over content-neutral expressions as well. So either Nick wrote the whole white paper, or it was written by somebody imitating Nick's writing style. Which is possible, I guess, right? Here's a brief summary of some of the more salient common points. Content-neutral terms. The repeated use of the phrase "of course" without isolating commas, just "of course." The expression "can be characterized," which is found in 1% of crypto papers. The use of "for our purposes," which is found in 1.5% of crypto papers. Starting sentences with "it should be noted," which is found in 5.25% of crypto papers. The use of the word "preclude," which is found in 1.5% of crypto papers. Expressions like "a level of," and then a noun, like "a level of privacy." Then content-bearing terms that have common synonyms in the field and thus could easily have been expressed in a different way. Like he uses the expression timestamp server, both in the blog and in the Bitcoin paper. Repeated use of the expression trusted third party. Expressions like cryptographic proof and digital signatures. Repeated use of timestamp as a verb. And this goes on. I mean, this to me is like, okay, we're getting somewhere with this, right? This article goes on to say the probability of finding all of "it should be noted," "for our purposes," "can be characterized," and "preclude" as part of a given researcher's vocabulary has an upper bound of 0.08%. To me, that's like, okay, is he Satoshi 100%? No, but like, it seems like he's either involved or someone like targeted him as trying to replicate his style on purpose. Like I feel like this is my pick, right? I don't see anything like this for any of the other candidates on this list.
What is his financial situation? Is there evidence for why he hasn't touched the wallet?
That I don't know. Nick Szabo. Let's see, what does he do? He's an American computer scientist and legal scholar. Not much is known about him. He lives in Seattle. Oh, career. He has a Juris Doctor degree from George Washington University Law School. And yeah, I don't. I mean, so I assume he's wealthy, but I don't know if he's. It doesn't sound like he's like super rich enough to just ignore. But another thing to point out around that though is like whoever Satoshi is not like a normal person, right? Like this is a person who would forego fame and fortune for some idea. I think, right? Like this is someone who like really believes in like these concepts of like that the government is going to destroy the economy and like everything should be deregulated and everything, and like is willing to die for that cause. So, I agree with your point that like it's more believable that someone would ignore it if they're someone who's very wealthy. But I don't think that's like if someone isn't super wealthy, I don't think that like excludes them.
Maybe this is a little bit cynical, but I tend to agree with you that like, someone not being super wealthy is not necessarily evidence, but at the same time, I think most people in the world have a price. And I think like, okay, putting aside the things that you said about like regulations and whether or not you could actually move this much Bitcoin and all that, like, I think the idea of becoming the 11th richest person in the world overnight is probably too much for like most people to handle for the sake of ideals. Like I said, maybe that's a little cynical, but I think at some point in the last 20 years, if someone were able to just like snap their fingers and become the 11th richest person in the world, I think they would have done it if they weren't already in a good spot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and I don't think any of these guys are like struggling monetarily, right? They're all programmers. Well, and okay. Also, it wasn't overnight. It was very quick. But like, I mean, how many years ago was 2008? What year is it? Almost 20 years?
Yeah, so, let's just call it 20 years, I think. Yeah, I'm not saying that it became that valuable overnight, but I'm saying that the sell-off would be overnight. Like if you were sitting there and you sold it today, you're suddenly that rich.
Yeah. And the paper also does point out that like it's maybe even more likely that there's some Satoshi Nakamoto who reached out to Nick and maybe like asked for him with help writing this paper. It seems likely that they would have reached out to Nick, being as he created this bit gold idea. Like this is a very similar thing. Who knows? But I mean, that's just. I mean, I don't see Sassaman's death is a weird coincidence, but
yeah.
I feel like that's all we really have. I mean, I guess you could say it's a coincidence that someone writes in the exact same way as Szabo. I couldn't find why he would write with like those British isms. I don't know why those are there. I don't know if there's a. I mean, I think that's mentioned here.
That's a good point. Like, if we're going to hang so much weight on this linguistic analysis, we probably need to try to explain.
Okay, it's here. Most of the unusual wording found in the Bitcoin white paper can also be found in recurring occurrences in Nick's articles. Not all of it, though. The British ism "favor" with a U, used by Satoshi, is not used by Nick, who writes "favor" Favor. However, the Bitcoin paper may have had several authors, Nick being merely the main one. In fact, since all the paper is written in American English except for this one word, it is highly probable that either the paper had several authors or this one word was a deliberate attempt at adding confusion as to the origins of the paper. I feel like you're right. That does feel a little. I feel like we have a little bit of a circular logic thing going on here, right? Like, we're saying it's him because he writes the same way, and then once he doesn't, it's like, oh, because he's trying to hide his tracks.
Right. Yeah.
That is a little.
I don't know. Pretty good evidence though. Like, that Nick doesn't sound crazy. I think my money's on Len, based on what you said.
Mm-hmm. Let me see if there's anything else about him. Len was a well-known cypherpunk. Cypherpunk is a word I learned in this research. Cypherpunk is one who advocates the widespread use of strong cryptography and privacy-enhancing technologies as a means of affecting social and political change. Am I a cypherpunk?
Well, are you undermining the system?
No, I mean, yeah, I guess there's a difference between being like, because punk implies that you're like really out here. You know what I mean? Like, like a punk is someone who's like, you don't just get to be like, I hate the system and call yourself a punk, right? You got to be a little bit like, you know what I mean?
Action. You gotta be doing something.
Yeah. You gotta be in the streets a little bit, yeah. So I guess I'm not a cypherpunk, but I F with the vision, you could say. Sassaman appeared at technology conferences like DEF CON. Pretty long history of like being involved in this stuff. Sassaman had been mentioned on Bitcoin Talk on March 2013 when a user suggested Sassaman was Satoshi. A presentation given by Kaminsky at the 2011 Black Hat briefings revealed that a testimony in honor of Sassaman had been permanently embedded into Bitcoin's blockchain. Okay, that's a cool note. Yeah, I mean, if it is him, I guess we'll never know.
Yeah. What does that mean exactly to embed a message in the blockchain? Does that just mean that there's like a node in the chain that is a message rather than a transaction?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know exactly what they mean by that. Embedded in the Bitcoin's blockchain, a message that's permanently embedded in the Bitcoin's blockchain.
I'm just not familiar enough with the blockchain stuff. I assume though, people do those. I forget the name of them, but they were like apps that can run from the blockchain and stuff like that. So I assume that just means that nodes can contain any kind of like arbitrary data, and it's usually a Bitcoin transaction, but it might just be some text.
Oh, so this one is actually an ASCII art tribute. An ASCII art tribute by Dan Kaminsky in honor of Len to be permanently embedded into the Bitcoin's blockchain was first announced. And I can see it here. So you're saying Len is your pick?
Yeah, based on what you said, that one seems most likely to me. I'll be honest, like from the jump, I've been kind of biased towards someone who had passed away. I think that's the most likely explanation for somebody not touching the wallet. But yeah, based on what you said, that one seems the most likely to me. The linguistic analysis is interesting. I don't know why. For some reason, I'm a little wary about hanging too much evidence on that for some reason. But Nick seems like a good candidate also.
Okay, here's one little tidbit from a random Reddit thread. Meredith Patterson, this was Len Sassaman's wife, believes that he was not Satoshi Nakamoto. That's not a, a nail in the coffin for the theory at all. But I feel like my wife would know if I was. Well, here's the thing. If I was like a secret, like celebrity rich person who like made this incredible thing, like I would tell like at least you and my wife and like my close family.
Depends on your relationship with your wife, though. There might be good reasons to hide billions of dollars from your wife. You know what I'm saying? What if you? Not everyone has a good relationship with their wife like you do, Colin. There might be like a real reason for someone to not tell their wife that
Yeah.
we have billions of dollars.
Yeah, that's what I mean though. Like I'm just saying, like me personally, like I'd be telling people.
Yeah.
I'd let my friends know that I'm actually a secret billionaire, and everyone in the world wants to know who I am.
I think that's really like, I think that's one of the things at the heart of it really is like, why the secrecy at all? Why? I think there are some really good reasons for it. I don't think there's like I don't think it's totally unfathomable that someone would not want to be the face of it. Like, sometimes you'll hear about those really rich people who made their fortunes like, mining diamonds in the Sudan and stuff. And they're like, I don't want to be a public figure. I don't want to be a Warren Buffett who's out there like associated with my wealth. I want to be someone who's like just rich on the down low. So I don't think it's, I don't think it's crazy that someone would want to be secret about that. But it's also unusual, like you said, that this is not a normal person. A normal person, I think, would do exactly what you said and at least tell some people, if not, even if you don't like proclaim it publicly, I think you would tell some people.
Yeah. I don't know. I wonder if maybe he was like afraid the government would like kill him or something. I don't know. Because also he didn't know he was going to be a billionaire when he started the project either.
Right. Yeah.
I guess he assumed he would be, but yeah.
That's kind of where I'm trying to go with the secrecy thing. Is like, you got to know, you have to make that decision from the start in this case, right? Before this project succeeds, it may or may not succeed. We may or may not make any money from this thing. Just depends if it gets traction and things.
So that reminds me of that little tidbit about how Nick Szabo was interested in pseudonyms, because I could see someone doing that just kind of for the coolness of it, for the cypherpunkiness of it, right? Like, hey, I'm Neo. I'm like oh yeah, there was this theory about Szabo translates to Satoshi somehow. Nick is Hungarian, and surnames come first in Hungary, so traditional writing his name would match the initials Satoshi. Oh, Satoshi Nakamoto SN. Okay, no, we're getting into the meme from It's Always Sunny with the lines on the yeah, like nah, nah.
Yeah. But no, you're 100% right that, I think there may have been a fear among people who were doing this, especially given that initial Genesis block comment reference. There may very well have been a fear that if this did succeed and if it got some traction, that this was going to be seen as trying to undermine the global financial system. And, there may be consequences for that. Can't just make up your own money.
Yeah. I think I gotta just stay away from the Bitcoin subreddit, because I just see claims on here and then I'm like, I don't know if this is even true or not. This guy's saying that Len Sassaman hated Bitcoin, like wasn't a fan of Bitcoin at all. I don't know if that's true or not. seems weird that the Bitcoin project would put an ode to him in like in the permanent blockchain if he hated them.
Yeah, true.
But maybe, I don't know. Anyway, I think that's about all I got for this. I'll have to
That's
watch
great,
that
man.
HBO documentary.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to watch that too. Yeah, uh, that was great. Yeah, my money's on Len, but I'm still open-minded about it. I'm still willing to hear some arguments.
Do you want to go into whose side are you on? We're at an hour and 10 minutes right now.
Sure. You got a quick one?
All right. Well, do you want to go back to that one we talked about before
Sure.
off the record?
Let's do it.
Okay, so it was Git merge versus Git rebase. Do you have a take on this?
I mostly use merge, and I like to. It's what we use at work. I don't have a ton of experience rebasing. I mean, it kind of seems like you gotta choose one or the other for your project for the most part, or at least most teams do choose one or the other. But yeah, I like to merge. I like to squash my merges so that there's no merge commit in master. There's just a commit with all the stuff from my branch. It's my preference.
Yeah. So this is another one of those things. People have really strong opinions about this, and I don't really. I've done both. I've worked on teams that have done either or. Um, I prefer Git merge mostly just because I just find it simpler. I don't know if it's actually simpler or if it just works better with my brain, but it just the mental model of like, okay, you have a branch, you merge in. If you want to update your branch, you merge from the main branch into your feature branch. Like that just makes sense to me. Uh, the main argument for rebasing is that it keeps a cleaner history, more linear history. They say. Um, I just don't have a problem with that. Like, I don't mind merge commits. I'm not really looking at my history, my like long term Git history too much. Mostly just I look within my feature branch and that's it.
I think that's a really interesting part of the discussion. Maybe is that like I feel like some people when they discuss this put a lot of emphasis on the ability to go back in history and like find the source of some bug that we need to find the exact commit that was in. That happens to me like twice a year. Like
Yeah,
it's much more important that the workflow be easy than it is to be able to go back and bisect Git commits. Like that's if that's a pain in the ass a couple times a year, it just doesn't seem like that big a deal to me.
yeah, I agree. And then like, it's not like you can't do that when you merge, right? Like
Yeah.
you still have all the commits are there. Just it's a little bit a few other things you have to ignore while you're scrolling, I guess. Like, also, I think the only actual difference is like when you do have conflicts, you have to kind of deal with them in different ways, right? When you rebase, you have to deal with it at the rebase part as opposed to the final merge part. And I think I don't know. I like having like a merge commit and saying like, okay, that's the point where like everything happened. You know what I mean? Like that's the point where like if something got screwed up, that was it, right? Like it was in that merge commit. So I kind of like
Yeah.
that. But again, I don't have strong feelings about this. I'll rebase if that's what the project does. That's probably the big thing, right? You got to be consistent. If you're mixing and matching, no, don't do that. Do one or the
That's
other.
right. That's a disaster. When you've worked on teams that rebase, I don't know, do you ever get into weird stuff where people like are accidentally rewriting history that's been pushed to remote and stuff like that?
I think we did. I remember. I definitely had to force push here and there. I don't remember why. But we also had a kind of. I remember we had a kind of weird release process where we made like I'm trying to remember. we had like a master branch, and then every release had a branch, and then so we would make a release branch at the start of a sprint, And then as the sprint went on, we would branch off of it and into, or rebase off of and into the, and then merge, whatever, into the like release branch. And then after a release, that would be rebased onto master. And I always found the process a little like more, I always felt like it was a little more complicated than it needed to be. I guess that's the way you're supposed to do it, really. But I don't know.
I do remember reading stuff like that, like when I was learning Git way back in the day, reading stuff like that where you would, you would make a branch off a branch and stuff like that. I've never done that in real life, to be honest. I usually always just branch off master, and if it really gets that complicated, merge different branches together, I guess.
That's it. I don't know. That's not that interesting, really, now I think about it. But for some reason, people have really strong feelings about this. And when I was trying to look it up a little bit, it really all came down to the rebase people think that the commit history is way cleaner and nicer, and that's vastly superior. I don't feel like you get much from it. Merging seems okay to me.
Yeah, I agree. I don't mind merge commits. Although, like I said, I do squash my commits. So when I do it, I don't have a merge commit. I just have one commit from my branch that is all of the commits from my branch. And it's, it's not rebased, but it's like squashed. I don't have a merge commit when I do that. I have a commit that's essentially a merge commit. But.
Yeah, but you still have a pretty nice history that's pretty easy to read.
Yeah.
All right. That's about it.
Cool. That was fun. Thanks, Colin.
I am Satoshi. It's me. I was in the 8th grade when I wrote the white paper.
I meant to make a joke about that. Yeah, you didn't put yourself on the list. Sus.
Yeah. Well, no, that is the one thing, right? Like I said, like anyone who denies it is kind of more sus, but it's like, it kind of got like, there's this thing like, in kind of like cryptozoology, like it's like, okay, to prove that Bigfoot is real, you have to find a Bigfoot one time, right? And then he's real forever. Proved it. To prove that Bigfoot is not real, you basically have to map out the entire planet. Like it's effectively impossible to prove that Bigfoot is not real, right? Yeah. So the thing is, like, if someone points you as being Satoshi Nakamoto and you're not him, like, to prove that you are him is, oh yeah, here's the wallet, here's my emails, here's this, you've got something that could corroborate that you're him. To prove that you're not him, you're just going to look more guilty the more you say you're not him. And yeah. And there's not really, like, you can't, I guess, maybe if you have like a receipt or something, you were out of the country when, well, I don't know, you still work while you're out of the country. I don't know. Maybe if you have some sort of alibi, maybe, but that would be hard.
Yeah, and especially this much time and this much speculation, I almost feel like, yeah, any evidence you provide would be like, oh, how convenient.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There it is.
Cool. Love it. Catch you guys next time.
1x Developer Podcast.
Hey everybody, this is Colin. First and foremost, I want to thank you all for listening to this episode of the 1x Developer Podcast, and let you know that if you have any questions, comments, or if you just want to tell us about your day, you can reach us at X, formerly known as Twitter, at 1x Developer Podcast. We're also on YouTube at 1x Developer Podcast. You can email us if you're weird at 1xdeveloperpodcast@protonmail.com. And lastly, don't forget to follow, subscribe, all that stuff, so you don't miss any further episodes of the 1x Developer Podcast. Thanks so much. See you next time.